Have you ever been in a meeting with someone who just feels completely grounded? You know, the kind of person who seems deeply self-aware, fully present, and comfortable in their own skin? Well, I had a professor like that back in grad school. She was one of those rare people whose presence instantly shifted a room. She didn't dominate with her voice, but the way that she listened, like really listened, made you feel seen, valued, like what you had to say mattered. There was something that was so calm and steady and deeply human about the way she showed up. And it made her students feel safe and more capable. And while she usually had the answers, it wasn't her expertise that drew us in. It was her presence. That to me is what embodied leadership looks like. Now let's zoom out to something that might feel more familiar. You're on your fifth video call of the day. Your inbox is overflowing. You still have more meetings to get through and you're trying to stay focused, but your attention is fraying. Your jaw is tight, your body feels tense, and you can't remember the last time you took a full breath. So you're showing up, you're doing your job, but let's be honest, you're going through the motions. You're operating on default, not from intention. Now, if that resonates, it's not just a time management issue, and it's not just mindset. It's your nervous system. It's your body letting you know that something is off. And if you know how to pay attention to those signals rather than override them, you access a quiet but powerful edge in your leadership. And that's what embodied leadership is all about. So at its core, embodied leadership is a shift in how we show up as leaders, not just how we perform our roles. It means leading from a place of alignment, where your thoughts, emotions, values, and body are in conversation with each other, not in conflict. It doesn't mean that you're always calm or confident. Of course not, right? You're human and challenges are inevitable. But it does mean that you're aware of what's happening inside you and you're able to stay connected to that experience while navigating everything happening around you. That kind of internal awareness builds steadiness and it builds trust. And it creates the kind of authenticity that people naturally respond to, especially in times of complexity or change. So why does this matter? Well, the demands of leadership today are intense. Strategy and technical skill are essential, but they're no longer enough. So what's required now is presence, the ability to stay connected to yourself, especially when the pressure is on or the path ahead is unclear. In my book, The Consummate Leader, I talk about self-awareness as the foundation of effective leadership. So without it, your influence and your capacity to grow hits a ceiling. Now, a lot of leaders have intellectual self-awareness. They know their strengths and weaknesses, they filled out the assessments, and maybe they've even created a development plan. But the next level of growth involves embodied self-awareness, grounded in mindfulness, nervous literacy, and real-time presence. Because when we're disconnected from our bodies, we tend to fall into unhelpful patterns. We push through. We react instead of respond. We miss cues from our teams. We confuse activity with impact. Embodied leadership, on the other hand, helps to break that cycle. It gives you the tools to return to yourself so you can refocus, recenter, and lead from intention, not urgency. And this isn't just theoretical. A study published in the journal Leadership found that cognitive leadership models, so the ones that focus on knowledge and theory, don't fully engage the parts of the brain required for lasting behavior change. But embodied approaches, well, they work with both the body and the mind, and that makes the learning deeper, more sustainable, and more transformational. And the International Coaching Federation also emphasizes the importance of kinesthetic learning. So embodied leadership is something you understand, it's something you experience, and that's what makes it stick. So what does embodied leadership look like? Well, you've probably seen it before. Embodied leaders tend to show up in subtle but powerful ways. They pause before they respond, even in tense situations. They stay grounded during hard conversations without needing to dominate or retreat. They notice emotional shifts in the room, even when nothing's been said. And they lead with clarity and steadiness rather than rushing to fix or perform. So they're not flawless, but they're present, and people feel that. They trust it. Now, compare that to what we might call disembodied leadership. That often shows up as reactivity under stress, overthinking or micromanaging, disconnection from others and from personal values, and ignoring the body's signals until burnout hits. And so, when that happens, here's what's happening behind the scenes. Your nervous system is constantly scanning for cues of safety or threat, often without your conscious awareness. And so this is why you can walk into a meeting and feel tension even before a word is spoken. So when you're dysregulated, overwhelmed, overstimulated, or rushed, your ability to listen, think clearly, or connect is compromised. But when you're regulated, your full capacity comes online. So that includes your cognitive intelligence, your emotional intelligence, and your somatic intelligence. And the good news is that this isn't a fixed state. So thanks to neuroplasticity, your brain is always changing. And you can really build these leadership capacities through practice. So practices like breath work, body awareness, and mindful pauses, they don't just calm your system in the moment. They literally reshape your brain to be more resilient, responsive, and grounded. So let's start with 3 small practices you can try, because you really don't need to overhaul your life to start leading in a more embodied way. Small, simple practices can go a long way. So the first one is the somatic pause. And the way this is before a meeting or a decision, you simply pause. You take one breath, you feel your feet, you let your shoulders soften, and that one moment of presence can really change what comes next. You become sort of more tied with yourself in the moment, you're more centered, and that can enable you to operate with more clarity. Second, check in with your body. So ask, what am I feeling right now? Maybe there's tightness in your chest. Maybe your jaw is clenched. Maybe you feel a little bit restless. And you don't even need to fix it. Just noticing can shift your awareness and your regulation. Labeling what's going on activates a different part of your brain that enables you to kind of think again more clearly. A third thing you can do is look around the room. So when you feel caught in a loop, just gently orient to your environment. So let your eyes move. Notice things like light, color, and texture. And this can help to anchor your nervous system in the present. So here's something worth thinking about. As a leader, you already know how to solve problems. But what would change if you led from your whole self? Where are you leading from? Your head or your full presence? Because in today's world, people don't just respond to what you say. They respond to how you are and how you show up, to your nervous system, to your coherence, to your steadiness. And that's why some leaders, like my professor, can walk into a room and shift the entire tone without saying a word. Presence is contagious and it's powerful. So if you're curious about how to cultivate this kind of leadership, I would love to support you. And if you're ready to build a mindfulness practice of your own, I'm going to put a link to my course below. So thanks for watching. Take care. And I encourage you to keep leading from the inside out. I'm Dr. Patricia Thompson. Have a great day.
Hi there. I'm Lyndon Thorpe, and you've just been listening to my co-host today, Patricia Thompson, Dr. Patricia Thompson, who is very interested in embodied leadership. I didn't have a physical co-host today, so I thought I'd share some of her work with you so that you can really start to understand from a professional point of view what embodiment is all about. As she says very wisely, it's not a good idea to go overboard and start overhauling your life. It's a question really of noticing little things and making small changes, taking small steps. And that's the work I do too. Though I'm also a healer and I use bodywork techniques in my embodiment work. Okay, so today then we're talking about embodied leadership, and I've been writing about this all week, and in fact I've been writing about it for a long time now, and today I'd just like to go on from Patricia and talk a little bit about my book. Recently I wrote a book called Your Body is Your Business Plan. And it's really a book that will help you to avoid burnout. And so I'd like to take you through it, and hopefully you're going to read it and get some real insights. Let me just share my screen again, and I'll show you some pages from my book. So, okay. Okay, so here's my book. You can see it's called Your Body is Your Business Plan, Avoid Burnout. And the contents are maybe quite interesting and pretty unorthodox, because remember, I'm a business person, but I come from a background, an academic background actually, an education background. I've been a teacher most of my life. And so I'm looking at things like what is the mind and what isn't the mind, and what burnout actually is, and the cost of living in your head and things like that. And so we start off with some interesting images here. And in my work, I blend together Buddhist teachings. I'm a lifelong Buddhist and a Buddhist priest, and also indigenous wisdom. I have been very involved with indigenous groups, and I really admire the way they live. So, yes, one of the first statements I make is the mind is a servant, not a master. It's a terrible master, really, the limited mind, the one between your ears. And actually, yes, you are so much more than your thoughts. Well, let's just take a quick look at what the mind is and what it isn't. Patricia mentioned embodiment. I want to mention knowing what you're not. So in the first instance, you are not your mind. People identify with it to such an extent that they can't detach from it, but you are not your limited mind. You are not how many thoughts you can have every 10 seconds or how many calculations you can do at lightning speed. You are not that. That is not a human being. That maybe is an AI model. And I think it's interesting that we are in the era of AI, which is the kind of archetypal limited mind. It can't feel, it can't breathe, it can't really remember much, actually. My AI assistant is constantly losing track of things. Very short memory span. I have a much longer memory span because I'm embodied. and I'm working from my body. So, first of all, you are not your mind. You are not your thoughts. You are not your stories, no matter how alluring they may be. And you are not the internal commentary narrating your every move. I'm not being facetious, but this isn't just a spiritual platitude. It's a lived, practical realization, one that forms the foundation of embodied leadership, especially regenerative business and sustainable well-being. So if you look at my page here, you can see I work with these 4 compasses. We've got the mind compass, as you saw in my video, the mind compass, which is all about direction. Then we've got the heart and lungs, which are all about compassion and feeling and sensitivity. Then the solar plexus, which is about intention and confidence. And right at the base of your spine, you've got your grounding. And this is really about staying stable, living with the earth, and operating from a wonderfully balanced combination of body, mind, and spirit. Okay. Recently, mindset work has become so important. And I'm just going to come back to you for a moment. Yes, mindset work has become so important. People crave collecting strategies together, 10 strategies to do this, 15 to do that. And they really believe that overnight, almost, if they use these strategies, they will change things. Not in a million years. Things may change briefly because you've got a new window to look into from the limited mind, but they won't stick. And, even though you may try and memorize them, write them on the wall and so on, they're not going to change anything in your body. Yeah. As Dr. Patricia said, we have neuroplasticity. The mind can change, and it does change. But that doesn't mean that you're embodied. Embodiment is something quite different. In my work, I make a great distinction between the limited mind and the unlimited mind. And the unlimited mind is really your consciousness. I think psychology and psychiatry have done a great disservice, really, to our understanding of humanity, with subconsciouses and ids and all of this. And Freud really started it. But really, Freud was an academic. He wasn't looking from the point of view of the body or the spirit. And Jung, who followed him, was also able to give lots of insight. But again, he was not really truly embodied himself. Now, on the other hand, I have lived a life where I have become truly embodied through my spiritual pathway, through Buddhism and through the Buddhist teachings, and also through my work as a body specialist. So I've been working as an Alexander teacher, as a Feldenkrais teacher. I've been working with healing, meditation, mindfulness, and all of the things that Dr. Patricia mentioned. Those are my territory. That's what I do. And I feel now that this work is so essential because people are so trapped in their mind, in their limited mind. And once they get a taste of the unlimited mind, which is boundless, it's like the universe, it's like the sky, infinite, boundless. Once they get a taste of that, then they realize that this is where we should live. We should live in the unlimited mind. We should be constantly aware of the spirit, the human spirit, which is our energy, our essence, nothing more. It's nothing to do with religion. Any physicist will tell you that energy is indestructible. And the human energy, your DNA, your ancestral lineage, they are indestructible. That whole energy line is indestructible. And so, although we inhabit our bodies for 60, 70, 80 years, the body is just a vehicle, and the spirit survives all of that. The spirit leaves the body and becomes consciousness. Yeah. And you can really get a sense of this when you talk to First Nations and Indigenous people, as I have. You see that they totally believe that their human manifestation is just a brief blip, really, in their journey in eternity. Most primitive peoples do not see time in a linear way at all. They see it as a circle, round and round, just goes round and round. And if we can adopt some of these ideas in our lives, then we can really live more fully. We can breathe, we can take time to rest, we can really get inside our bodies and live from them. And that's where we are meant to live from, not this tool. It's a great tool. Wouldn't be without it, but I do know when to put it down. And I crave time just being in my body, breathing, lengthening my spine, detecting vibrations around my body. All of these things are the things I teach. So, yes, I am working with many leaders, and I'm hoping to work with many more to make them aware that until they really inhabit their bodies, until they really settle in to their bodies and use the mind power in a different way, then they will always be trapped by time, by a chasing of goals, and so on, external goals. Goal setting is inside. Yeah. The whole business of embodiment is about being in touch with your values, being connected to your true nature, and then behaving in that. There's no disconnect. You are your value. You behave and act as you are inside. There's no incongruence there. This is how First Nations, Indigenous peoples live. They do not make a difference between the inside and the outside. They spend all their time guarding the earth. They don't need money. They don't need fame or success. They are just loyal custodians of the earth, and they live totally happily, closely to the earth. We are very distant from the earth mostly, and that really does need to change. So a lot of my work is taking people back through audio transmissions, through healing, through voice healing, and so on, which I do a lot of on the internet, to the earth, back to the earth. Yeah, we cannot survive without the earth. It provides breathable gas. We can live as a result. But Human beings have walked away from the earth. They've damaged it so badly. They've turned their backs on it. And this is what First Nations feel. They're damaging the earth, and they don't know how to stop. So it's really important every day to be grateful. My day starts with gratitude. Every single day, I open my eyes. First thing I feel is, wow, I survived the night. I could breathe through the night. How amazing. I could rest and sleep, and my breath just supported me for 8 or 9 hours. This is amazing. So I start my day with that kind of gratitude. And gratitude is the most incredible foundation for every day. Whatever happens during your day, if you are grateful for what you have, not for what you might have or what you're going to have, you think, then you can live much more peacefully and you can overcome all sorts of hurdles. Really, one of my favorite things to do is to flow. Flow is an important thing nowadays. Flow is very important, and it's what primitive peoples do. They live by the sun. Yeah, they wake when the sun rises, they sleep when the sun falls. They don't measure time, they don't measure anything really. And they are constantly breathing, constantly detecting vibrations to protect the environment and to protect themselves. I've been with Australian Aboriginals who suddenly will stop walking and stand on one leg. And what they're doing is using the whole body to detect vibrations. And they will say, yes, we need to move. There's a sandstorm coming 10 miles away. Yeah, they can detect vibrations up to 10 miles away. And it's been proved. It's true. So in many ways, they are creaturely. They have retained a lot of creaturely skills, and that enables them to survive one of the harshest climates on Earth, the centre of Australia, in the case of the Aboriginals, and a very hard life, hunting, gathering food, sustaining terrible weather, storms, earthquakes, you name it, very severe, harsh environment, and they survive. And they grow to be very, very old too. So, yes, this is my work. Let me just take you back to my book, to another couple of parts of it. Let's go here. Okay, let's share. Okay, and so we look at my book. If we go a little bit further on, I use lots of images in my book. I really want to inspire you, so I write in chunks. Yeah, people's reading ability has really reduced, which is due to lots of internet exposure and so on, and manga, things like that. And so it's really difficult for many people to read properly a whole book. So I divide my work into chunks, and very often there are images to inspire, and there are reflections or prompts, little practices. So yeah, this one's about my Aboriginal experience, and yeah, they can't understand why we live the way we do. One day, one of the tribal leaders I was with said to me, through an interpreter, I didn't speak her native tongue, which was Pidgin Jara, She said to me, "Lyndon, why do you live in a straight line?" And first of all, I wasn't sure what she meant. And then I began to think, yes, linear time makes us live in a straight line. And if you're living in a straight line, then we can run along that line as if there's a gun behind us. Okay, so that's how people live. They wake, they check their phone, and the race begins to respond, to decide, to solve throughout the whole day. And I think the linear concept of time disposes people to live in that way. And in that race, there's only one tool, the thinking mind. And it becomes the sole instrument to use, measuring worth in speed, in output, in cognitive cleverness. You saw this in my video earlier. Speed, distraction. We live entirely from this mind, and we're constantly competing as a result. What is really crazy and has driven me to become very active in the opening of people's eyes to embodiment is that the crazy thing is we've been sold this as a way to succeed. We've been sold that the sharpest mind wins, the fastest thinker leads, and the only form of intelligence worth cultivating is the one that speaks in words, figures, and plans. This intelligence is very different to that of the desert and indigenous peoples. They have a very different kind of intelligence. They very often don't use words at all, very rarely. They don't use numbers, and they don't plan. They live in the moment, here and now, with their breath. The future, the past, they laugh when they listen to white people talking about that. There is no such thing. They're dreams. Yeah. And it's very interesting when you ask Indigenous people how long they have been on Earth, which I have done. They say, "Oh, we've always been here, and we always will be." And so the circularity of their existence is really so inspiring. A lot of the things that modern neuroscience now is only just starting to back up is what tribes have been telling their members for thousands of years. Very ancient skills. So yeah, a typical micro practice here is, maybe we should just try it as a closing gesture. For the next 60 seconds, and I'll keep an eye on the time, close your eyes and listen with your skin. Your skin has 84,000 pores, okay? And animals and traditional tribal people listen with their whole body, with all of their skin. They can notice the air temperature, any movements around them, any vibrations, any pressure. They can read the weather because of the pressure on their bodies. And also, in this practice, there is no need to name anything. We don't need the symbols of words or images. So let's try it. 60 seconds is all I ask. Here we go. Let your eyelids fall. Keep your eyes open, a little rim at the bottom of your gaze, and start to scan your body from the crown of your head, right down the sides of your face and neck, down into your arms, right down into your fingertips, and then down your torso, down your chest, down your stomach, and your abdomen, and your back, right down from the top of your back to the bottom, and then right down through the thighs, through the knees, down through the lower legs, right down into the feet, heels, and toes. And listen with your skin. 84,000 skin pores. Detect any vibration in your environment. Notice the air temperature around your body, around your lower legs, around your head, around your elbows. Detect any movement around you. And feel any pressure on your body. If you're sitting, you may well feel pressure in the lower part of your body. And if you're standing, you may feel it in your lower legs. So the whole body, from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes, can detect vibrations. In the visual world, we're taught we have to listen with our ears only. But in the invisible realm, we are blind, really, and we can use the whole body to detect our environment. Okay, that's about one moment. Just allow your eyelids to open and think about how you feel after that little moment, 1 minute of using the body and the mind in a different way. So, yes, your 4 compasses. I work with 4 compasses, as you saw in my video, in my Lodestone product. And we work to recalibrate the compasses, the brain, the brainstem and pineal gland, the heart and lungs, the solar plexus at the base of your breastbone, and the base chakra and pelvic bowl. Those are 4 vital compasses to sustain your life. And my Lodestone, through audio transmission, works to recalibrate those. And it will take you 30 days to do that. So, yes, the heart is how we should live. And for me, the heart is the main brain of the body and the spirit. Blaise Pascal said, the heart has its reasons, which reason knows nothing of. So the heart and the intellectual mind are completely separate. And if you think burnout is about time management, you're very mistaken. It's really a breakdown in regulation, which Patricia Thompson mentioned. Imagine running a company where the CEO never consults the field team, the financial officers, or the operations lead, and then wonders why the company fails. So burnout is what happens when your brain runs the show without input from the heart, without input from the solar plexus or the base chakra. And your decisions become really divorced from reality. You override fatigue signals. You disconnect from meaning. So most leadership advice targets this limited mind: better decisions, sharper focus, clearer goals. But if the system underneath is dysregulated, those better decisions are still being made from a stressed state. And stress states don't innovate. They barely survive. This book, Your Body is Your Business Plan. You can get it from Amazon, and you can really find out how I work with embodiment from my book. So, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've got something from this. We have Patricia Thompson, Dr. Patricia Thompson, with us today. Next week, we're going to have Lynn Schuessler-Williams, who's going to be talking about wealth and guilt and trust, many other things. So please join us next week for the Your Body is Your Business Plan Masterclass. And if you'd like to come and co-host with me, I'd be delighted. You can apply to co-host, or you can apply to simply spectate. I'm streaming to LinkedIn Live and to YouTube. But if you want to come and co-host with me and let me help you with embodiment to improve your performance, I'd be very happy. So I'll put the link under this window when we finish this broadcast. And if you want to know anything about my work at all, please don't hesitate to contact me. This is Lyndon Thorpe. Your Body is Your Business Plan, the Masterclass. See you next week. Thank you so much.